a little guide for how to do the Tithe Farm with the Lagavano fruit, and we're doing a 25 by 4 method. The idea here is we want to try to get 100 fruit every 20 minutes because there is a point bonus and an XP bonus for getting 100 fruit. You can do a 20 fruit method, harvesting 20 fruit at a time, and it's a lot more lax, but this is close to peak efficiency. There is a little inefficiency here with respect to manual pathing, but I found that this is the best way for me to get a consistent run without messing up too much. There are other ways that involve diagonal pathing, diagonal manual pathing, that may work better for you and are technically more efficient, but I find that this works better for me. So a couple of RuneLite settings to start off with. Number one would be uh, the tiles that you can set, and I can upload these tiles if you want to use them. These are credit to someone on Reddit. I don't remember who. I can share that in the description. But the idea is essentially this. There are yellow tiles and red tiles. The red tiles are the ones that you have to click manually in order to get efficient pathing. The yellow tiles you'll go to naturally with automatic pathing based on just watering the plants as you go along. We'll see how that works in a minute. Okay, so we do something like this, and then up here, and then up here, and then I manually path to the next red one. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It's back and forth between these two rows. And then you round the corner here, and then you're just going to do one more row just straight down 17, 18, 19, 20, and then 21 through 24 down here, and finally 25 is at the very end. Now, this method can work if you have 10 different watering cans, but really it will work the best once you unlock the Greek-Colors can, because that will allow your muscle memory to kick in better because you're just going constantly between these two items in your inventory rather than a whole bunch of different ones where you have to mentally keep track of which cans are full and which are empty or whatever. Okay. The other thing to keep in mind too is there is a plugin on the plugin hub, I believe, called Object Markers. Let's see, Object Markers. And maybe that's a built-in plugin actually, but this is something I picked up from someone, some other guide on YouTube. The idea is you mark every alternate tithe patch. That way it's just a little easier to identify where you're going to need to click. If I were to mark everyone, then it probably would not work as well. And then you can change the colors of these just like you would anything else. I like to make them brown so that they're not as distracting because really it's the pathing that's going to be the most important, the pathing in the order. And then the final tip is you want to make sure that your zoom and your camera angle are set up correctly such that when you get to patch 8 here, you want to make sure that you can easily click to patch 9. Okay, so I have my angle set up here. Everything seems like it's ready to go. I got a full can, got my seeds. You put your seeds in your can as close as you can to where you're going to need to be clicking. And then when you're ready to go, you have to start. Now, the one thing that I will say right before I start here is once you do start, you really can't stop because this method, while it is a little more forgiving than other 25 methods, there's still not a lot of room for error. You can make a couple of mistakes. You can lose maybe a second or two, but if you mess up too much, then you're going to lose a few plants. So another thing with this method is it does require manual watering on that first round. You see that I'm clicking the seed into the tithe patch, and then I'm clicking the watering can manually into the patch afterwards. That's going to cancel the planting animation, and it allows me to do this faster. If you do not do manual watering on that first planting round, then you're not going to be fast enough and you're not going to make it. But you can see I'm only ever clicking on those red tiles. I get to the yellow tiles automatically just by my planting actions. I find that that's a lot more relaxed than having to manually diagonal path, which is a lot more clicks. There's a lot more opportunities for you to mess up. This is a lot easier, I would find. Okay, then I'm going to round the corner here. And I like to just queue up these actions as I can, make sure they're ready to go. The other setting that I think I did not mention is making sure that your true tile indicator is active. That way you're not accidentally doing things early or it can throw off your rhythm. So you see that I tried to time this right so that I'm planting as soon as that true tile hits the red squares if I'm manually pathing. Okay, and then once you get back around to your second watering round, if you see the indicator here for that plant, if it looks like it's got about a third left, then you know your timing is where it needs to be. If it's much less than a third, like if it's closer to a quarter, then you're pretty much screwed at that point. You were too slow and you're probably going to lose some plants, because what we'll see once we get to that final watering round, we're going to round back to the beginning. We'll see that we'll only have about a quarter left on that first plant. But the other nice thing about this strategy too is that once you get through that first round of planting and watering, which requires manual watering and pathing manually to the red squares, I'm on my second round here. And see, I made a mistake there, but I should be good. Okay. Once you're on that second and third round, you can start manually watering. In fact, I don't believe there's any mechanical advantage to manual watering at this point. You can just go ahead and automatically water by left clicking the plant. And you can see right behind me, I'm on my last round here. You can see how little time there is left because the plants that are immediately behind me are already fully grown. Although I do have a decent amount of time here once I get through those first few plants there. And then the last tip here I can think of that you probably have heard of from other guides would be in terms of either manual or automatic watering here, you want to go to your next action as soon as you see that indicator light up blue. And all I'm using here in terms of seeing these orange and blue indicators, this is the built-in Tithe Farm plugin from RuneLight. It's not even from the plugin hub. You just have to make sure it is enabled. But as soon as that indicator lights up blue, you want to move to your next plant. If you try to move any sooner than that, then you're going to get a significant delay. And if you move too much later, then you're going to be going too slow. Now, once you get to the harvesting round, it doesn't really matter what the pathing is, because unless you accidentally log out, there's no reason that these plants are going to disappear at this point, ever since the Tithe Farm was changed. But for two reasons, I'm going to recommend you do this as fast as you can. Number one, if your connection is unstable, I believe if you disconnect, you're going to lose all of your progress here. So you want to harvest these as fast as you can, just to minimize that kind of risk. But then the second thing I'll add here is, even though the manual pathing is not necessary at this point, I would recommend that you do it anyway, because it's going to give you some additional practice to get into that rhythm, because it's not necessarily the most natural rhythm to learn. It's kind of inconsistent at times. But with that, that's all 25 plants harvested, and I just hit 100. So I can go ahead and run this over to the sack. You deposit these as soon as you get 100. Again, just trying to minimize risk here. If you do log out, thankfully the fruit that's in your inventory will stay there, but you never know when you have to leave the farm for any reason. If you leave the farm for any reason through that door, you're going to lose any fruit you have in your inventory and any plants that are currently planted. So you want to minimize that risk as well. And that's basically it. I can refill my can here. Nice thing about Greek colors as well is it refills in just a single action instead of multiple cans will take multiple different animations to fill. If you have multiple cans still, you might want to use the humidify spell from the Lunar Spellbook, but with Greek colors, it's not really necessary. And I believe that's basically it. So there's a simple 25 plant method that I think anyone can do with a little practice. I myself struggled immensely with the other 25 plant methods, and I found that this is what worked best for me. And again, the credit goes to that user on Reddit. I will link to their original post.